Welcome back to the podcast. This is episode 2. I'm one of two hosts, Sean. This is.
Jim.
Today, our topic will be about pro players and if their effect on video games as a whole. Now, personally, I'm of the opinion that pro players can be good, but they can also bring a lot of bad.
You know, me personally, I think overall, as a whole, uh, pro players. The term of pro player. What really defines a pro? Like, do you have to be in esports on it, or do you just have to play in tournaments? Because I think pros in general are like a very small, you know, percentage of the gaming population in general. I think that we should more lean towards just like people who try way too, or who that term in general, people who consider better players tryhards. Which, if we go off that, then I think tryhards as a whole are pretty pretty harmful to the casual
No,
gaming scene in general.
I get that. And I feel like we should define pro players as people who have the ability to make money off of games they play. Like,
Yeah, that's a good definition. I'd agree with that. I agree with
they're not necessarily players who do make money, but they can make money if they put a little bit more effort into, I don't know, going into esports, going into local or more national tournaments. You know what I mean?
Okay, with that definition, then let's. What are some some cons about pro players or tryhards and their effect on games?
Well, as you know, they can have, they can be a sense of a steel wall in a sense in some games. Take like
Mm-hmm.
Kotaku in Apex Legends, an article about Apex Legends. In that article, you see a lot of people who were complaining about the skill-based matchmaking that happens in Apex with the latest season, Season 14. And it's kind of dreadful in a way to know that you can have these new players who are just getting the game for the first time, going little Timmy over here, and they're going up against Swole John.
Big Bob. Yeah,
Big,
Big Bob, who's been playing for the past 3 years,
yeah,
who's got his aim down. Knows all the rotations.
knows all the mechanics of every legend or playable character, and just knows how to take some names and give them bubblegum.
Yeah.
I feel like that could be really unfair towards a player base because, well, as I just said, you get these new players or newer players who get steamrolled in their matches.
Yeah, I agree. And then also that a lot of pro players like esport Apex pros, there's a mechanic, uh, like there's certain throwables. I think what is it called?
Arc
There
star?
was some grenade that they were yeah the arc star. Pros were complaining about it was too overpowered. It was just overall a nuisance. And then in the next update it got nerfed, which I think is pretty bad. That the majority of the population of that game, the casuals, weren't complaining as hard. They didn't really care. But these pros, they just mad about it, and then they ended up getting removed. And when that happens, they also were talking about how a good chunk of the player base was, saying to what was it, boycott the game. For that whole month of August not to play because they didn't want to, support these developers who are going to bend their knees to the pros and just do what the pros want, which really hurts. Any granted, Respawn's a pretty decently sized develop
Yeah. Respawn
developer.
has some pretty huge titles under their belt. You know, Titanfall 1, Titanfall 2, and the most recent being Apex Legends.
Yeah,
And it kind of sucks to see that a lot of their play base are even trying to boycott the game because they're removing a valuable mechanic that some pro players, whether it be Twitch streamers, YouTubers, just esport players in general, are complaining about yellow knockdown shield that gave players the ability to revive themselves, just because it made fights unfair in a game where you can get third party from halfway across the map.
Yeah, true. But I'll also say this for like more pro side, uh, or like try people who are just really good at the game. I also do feel like they should have some voice. Granted, not as strong as they do currently. But I mean, when you look at it, if you see like someone with a high rank, what are you gonna do? You want to go after them. You want to kill them, get them out of the game fast. Which then also, ruins their experience because they're also coming on there and have fun, play this game. And granted, even if you don't enjoy the way they play the game, they get targeted pretty hard by newer players or by just like semi competent good players. So I mean, I do feel bad for them on that part, but like, which makes me think they deserve somewhat of a voice and you know, some saying what happens in, but like the way they have it right now, it's pretty bad for the Apex in general.
No, I can agree, and I think IGN does a good way of saying it. Like, you get help me up here.
Yeah,
Wait, you have the script on you, right?
yeah. It's let me just. All right, this right there. It's right there. It's right there.
Right there. Wait,
Yeah, this is right.
what
You
page
see?
are you on?
Oh, page 56.
56. What the fuck?
Yeah,
What do you mean?
I think I don't know. I think I know. IGN, they brought up a good point, basically saying like, in a lot of these games though, where there are pro players, a lot of these like other games, they don't have a rank system, which then also leads to poor matchmaking. Just like how Kotaku said, you're gonna have these poor matchmaking where you're gonna have these people who are way above skill level to these newer players going against them, and these games don't have like rank systems, which makes it harder for these pros who want to play against other quote unquote pros. You know?
Yeah, I mean, apparently I keep forgetting my script, but I can see that. Like, it makes it very kind of unfair for these players who are trying to get better at their skill and potentially make money off of this. That they're being forced to play. They're being forced to play with the casuals, and it's kind of unfair. But at the same
I
point,
mean,
IGN also has stated that IGN actually referenced a TikTok user by the name of I don't remember, and they made a video, uh, basically going on a rant against pro players of Fall Guys, uh, a party a party game based around just jumping around trying to get a crown before everyone else does in a multi-round based system. And he went off on players, on pro players, kind of, just going a little bit AWOL, so to speak, saying that pro players are ruining the community when he himself has not played it.
yeah,
So
I mean that's a pretty poor take to have. If you don't play a game to be on the against the pros. But I will say this about you know these pro esports players. They whether you want to call them whether you want to or not, like they're in a sense an athlete. They try their hardest, they train every day at their respective game. To get better and get to a point where they can competitively compete for money. So I mean, I think we also got to give pros their credit and also like not be too harsh on them because they're playing to a level where they can exploit things and they don't want you know these newer players maybe to get exploited on with certain aspects in games.
hmm well,
But then again,
with pro players, they know a lot more mechanics than some of the casual genre would know. Like, if you go back to Kotaku with Apex, there's something called like wall boosting or something on Apex, where basically you would slide towards a wall and like double tap A to strafe on the wall and to jump off to get better movement, verticality, and speed, and overall just help yourself outmaneuver the other players that you're facing. Now that for them to use those on newer players, I feel like it's unfair. But we also need to be aware of like like we've said before with the matchmaking.
I mean, yeah, in both IGN and Kotaku, they bring up how this just makes games not fun at all, and also these new people who are getting into these newer or just getting into video games in general, they see these pros making hundreds of thousands of dollars, and the game then becomes very toxic. It's just a toxic mindset to have. Everyone's trying to outdo each other. They're trying their hardest to win the game, and it more becomes who's the best at this certain game and who can exploit better, who can who can just be better in general. And then people get a lot more mad, a lot more aggressive over winning and losing when in reality it is just a video game. There shouldn't be hard arguments, hard quarrels. You say over an Apex game. Creates these pros also do inadvertently create a very toxic mindset for newer players to have.
Yeah, I agree.
Just in general.
With that being said, I think it's time for our ad break.
Oh, ad break. Yeah, that's right. We do have that, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
Saying that, coincidentally, I don't know if you noticed, but
kind of. Well, I mean, we are being attacked.
Ow, that did hurt. But
today's sponsor of this podcast is NordVPN. When the imposter is sus, use NordVPN to be secure against any. To be secure against. God damn it! Do you have the script again?
Yeah, let me just hit. Do you want me to just give it to you? You're kind of off today.
Yeah, no kidding. I'd really appreciate it. Let's take care of some of these guys real quick though.
Yeah, I need to just give me a second. I'm getting boned with it. Let's just take these guys out. Alright, yeah, I'm in here. You got it? You got it? It's good.
Yeah, let me see. Oh, bro, why'd you throw it on the floor?
Oh, my bad.
Alright.
Got it.
Yep. Alright, from the top.
Alright.
Alright.
From the top, from the top.
Today's sponsor of the podcast is NordVPN. When the imposter is sus, use NordVPN. NordVPN can protect you against any type of malware or any malicious intents that people might have towards you. Whether it be a claim that you vented down in Medbay. NordVPN allows you to track your IP address. Change your IP address to any country. So say, I don't know, you're trying to watch The Office on Netflix in America. But you can't anymore because they took it off. You just can't. They took it off. I don't know why they did, but they did. They took off The Office, like the best show ever. Michael Scott is the best boss. But if you were to switch your server from America to Canada, you can finally watch the final episode of The Office and know what Michael did or did not do.
Yeah, I really got to get on that.
Yeah. Did you know that 1 in 3 people have never watched The Office? I watched The Office.
I watched The Office.
Did you watch The Office? Ad break over. What were we talking about again?
Pros and their influence on games.
Yes, that.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that.
So, we were on what, Source 3, right?
I think, yeah.
Let me just check the script real quick.
What was the article from Medium?
Yep.
I love it. They also brought up a lot of points, against pros in there. Not just pros in this one, content creators too. If I remember correctly, they were also talking about, in Fortnite, Bobby game, you may have heard of it. There was this mechanic in the game called Siphon. You'd kill someone, eliminate someone, and you would gain shield and health for that. Now, Fortnite had took that mechanic out of the game because they felt the casuals were getting abused by it. Like pro players were just taking advantage and getting wrecked. Yeah, that's a great word. So they took it out, and then you had a lot of pro players and content creators go to Twitter, go to other social media platforms and complain and within 2 weeks, Fortnite brought it back. And that's just another example of the developer bending over and doing what the pros or just in general what the pros want. They're going to complain, and then they're going to get what they want from the game, which does hurt the game.
Yeah, it
Because
does. Because you will have these people like, say, Tyler Ninja Blevins, a famous Fortnite creator,
I
and
know
yeah,
Mr.
yeah,
Blevins.
yeah. Who doesn't know Mr. Blevins?
Yeah. Play with
But
Drake that one time, right?
what was that?
Play with Drake, right?
Yeah. Drake and Travis Scott, I believe. But you would have people like Mr. Blevins over here, and it would be a shame because these guys are really talented at what they do. Mr. Blevins especially. I think he was what, #1 in the world at one point.
Probably.
But here we have like this Mr. Blevins, and one of the top players in the world, and say some little thing would affect him, like I don't know, the shotgun is too OP.
Yeah, it's too much damage.
This, yeah,
And then he goes and complains to Twitter, and
or his YouTube or
he,
Twitch or whatever he uses.
yeah, he takes clips to say his grievances with the game,
And
and then Epic's gonna listen because he has a large following. A lot of people like how he plays and how good he is at the game,
yeah,
and they're gonna be a mass mob and you know make Fortnite do what they want,
yeah,
which really sucks for a
it's a
game.
real shame because you have these, you have, you have, or you'll have what seems to be a very dedicated fan base, and this one little grievance from a content creator who has a large following, and all of a sudden, that a large portion of that fan base will turn against you just because their favorite creator said that X is bad or Y is could be better,
Yeah, very true.
and it just very sucks. Which leads us into our final point, which was like,
What can
what can
game
be done?
developers do?
Just what can be done against this? And what I personally feel like is the best course of action is for developers like Respawn Entertainment for Apex is that you should take their people's opinion into consideration, but make it your own. Don't do it just because someone else wants you to do it. Do it because a large portion, if not all, of the game developers will feel like it'll help increase the value of the game. Like, again, with the knockdown shield. A lot of newer players depended on that to help, quote unquote, get good. It was a crutch for them, which not always a good thing, not always a bad thing. It helped the newer players to what they felt like would be a nice, what's the word?
Nice experience playing the game.
Well, not a nice experience, like it would level the playing field in a way.
Yeah.
It would help match the skill gap between pros and casuals in a way that made it easier for them to enjoy the game. Not just, you know, complain, moan, seethe, cope on Twitter about how game, quote unquote, game bad. It would actually
Yeah, I
give
don't know.
them a source to relieve some stress in a way.
That's because that's what video games are for. Stress reliever, entertainment.
Yep.
I mean, personally, I think it's good that game developers do listen to the fan base, but I think before they make such like huge changes, like removing a whole mechanic, removing a whole item, I think instead of just listening to a few complaints on Twitter, I feel like they should do maybe like
A census.
an interactive like survey sort of thing in their game.
How do you
To
like?
get
Yeah,
a
kind of like
more wide
again with I'm
response
using
for an item.
yeah, like I'm going to reference Fortnite here. Lord have mercy on my soul, but Fortnite has a system where every so often you'll get a little pop-up window after you return to a lobby after a match, saying something along the lines of, "How do you feel about this item? Do you feel that it's balanced? It could use some more work, or it needs a lot of work and slash or needs to be removed?" I feel like a lot of game developers could add a system like that.
Yeah, that probably help a lot of games. But then also, just to basically end it, like, it's gonna take it's gonna take two to tango. The casual players, you can complain all you want, but you also have to interact. If like you feel you guys aren't being listened to, why don't you guys start, maybe not complaining, but
Making your
saying your
voice heard.
grievances and yeah, yeah.
Go to like an official Bungie or Respawn post on like Twitter or something, and just have them, or just talk to them, because most game developers, or not most, but a lot of game developers are willing to listen to the players' grievances and help them make the game better for the more casual audience.
Well, yeah,
Would you like any final statements, Tim?
Jim. But I don't know. Like I said earlier, I just think both, game developers need to take into account more the casual gameplay, the casual game player base. But at the same time, casual players need to also, be a little more vocal and not let, huge content creators, huge tryhards, huge pros, overtake them. That's kind of what I feel about it.
I feel like that's a good statement. And this has been Minecraft Podcast Episode 2, and I will finish my sentence, or I will finish the podcast mid